10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, to each and every one of you, the loyal drag racing fan, it is once again the Competition Plus Power Hour right here on Competition Plus TV. That's the YouTube channel. You're also seeing it on the Facebook page as well as the Twitter account for CompetitionPlus.com, the place where you can believe what you read on the internet. And the man who founded it, established it, owns it, keeps it running, Bobby Bennett. We're going to kick off with you and dive right on into the insider information. So what's going on, man?
Yeah, and you left out the part where the man who took all the ass kickings for it too. It was not easy in those early days, but anyway, it's just it's been a wild news cycle here for about the last week, and I was going to bring it out in my insider. Of the latest drag racer to become track owner. Terry McMillen reportedly published not published, but he purchased Indiana's longest running drag strip, Bunker Hill Dragway. And kudos for that. Well, you got to spend the money. If you're not spending it on the top fuel car, you got to spend it somewhere.
And hey, it's glad that it's still being spent in drag racing, and always good to hear longest running, and it's going to continue running. That's good.
That's always good. Do you know what actually the longest running drag strip is?
I do not know.
I'll give you a hint. It used to be the place that we kicked off the season at.
Yes.
Pomona, California. Now number 3. And
now number 3.
Don't say we didn't tell you on the insider.
That was last week, I believe, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Don't say we didn't tell you. Told you it's coming. Right. Evidently, we bugged the office well there in the NHRA because they're still trying to scratch your heads on that one.
Hey, I have, long before I even knew you, Bobby, I would pay attention to at least at the time, the FTI, it may still be FTI, rumor mill. Pay attention to that, ladies and gentlemen. You can only find it at CompetitionPlus.com. Make sure you keep your eyes out on that because, well, some interesting stuff there.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to get interesting going into the Western Swing here, and I'm pretty excited. But today, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the Bill Bader Celebration of Life today. We aired it thanks to the guys over at Drag Racer TV. We broadcast the life celebration of Bill Bader, and boy, it was just a tugs at your heart because that guy, man, he was good to me over the years. I mean, I learned a lot from him, and I hope he learned just a smidgen little from me. I could tell you my favorite Bill Bader story. It was 1999. We had just launched CompetitionPlus.com. Now, you got to understand that the era that this was in. Well, I think you were in 5K kindergarten or something like that.
maybe second grade, third, something like that.
So it was 1999, right before the .com crash. Baud rate 2,400 on dial-up. AOL was on 3.0. You'd get those little discs in the mail to sign up, to go online and go in the chat rooms. In fact, that's where I met Roger Richards, who's been with me for 23 years here. And so I asked Bill, after 3 months of not even uttering a word on the IHRA channels or anything about Competition Plus, I said, why didn't you ever support us? And he says, because we have a deal with GoRacing.com, and they're pretty big, and we just couldn't do it. I said, Bill, don't you understand that in 2 months we're going to be bigger than those guys? And of course, I was acting like the Chihuahua that thought he was a pit bull. And Bill started laughing so hard I could hold the phone back from my ear and hear him laughing. He says, "Boy, they're a media powerhouse." I said, "What? Mark my word." Well, in about a month or two, they went under in the midst of the .com crash, folded like a cheap suit. Called Bader up. I said, "Hey, you still laughing now?" And he says, "Well, I don't know." And the thing that I told when he said they were a media powerhouse, I said, "Just remember, Jaws was once a baby fish. He didn't just pop out of his mama and go postal on everybody."
That's right.
Another story.
That's right. Yes, that did air, and I'm sure it can still be viewed on Drag Racer TV if anyone is interested in that. Definitely a hugely influential man in the world of drag racing, and set a bar and a standard that each and every track owner could live by and operate by. So, Bobby, anything else in the insider world?
Well, I think we're getting closer to getting a Chevrolet approved front end for the Factory X cars. If you read our article last week about the Factory X cars, some of the major chassis builders are the decision for the NHRA, which they're well within their rights, and they never changed anything. There's never anything been set in stone. Decided to stick with steel roof and quarters for the big three, Chevrolet, Mopar, and Ford. Where we might find a problem is if Toyota comes into the scene, which we're hearing rumblings that they're very much interested, and they do have a V8 platform with which to play with. If those cars have no steel in their roof and quarters, so it would be exactly as the major chassis builders were wanting, a high-end composite body. So NHRA might face a little dilemma there, but it'll all work out. But right now, as it stands, we're looking at June before any of these major chassis builders have a car out.
Oh, man. I hope we do get to at least see two of these type of cars and what they're going to be at Indy, like something that we can just see. And if not, I'm fine at a race shop.
Well, one thing, we're in the finishing touches of putting together our program for Indy, where we will have as many as 6 to 7 individual notebooks. A notebook just for Top Fuel, one just for Funny Car, one for Pro Stock, one for Pro Stock Bike, one for Pro Mod, and another one for Sportsman. Plus, we'll have a video team there. We're finishing up some sponsorship programs, which we hope to announce here pretty soon. But it'll take you back to those days when we used to have, again, I keep forgetting that you were born like last week, where they had the Daily Dragster, except it's all on the internet, and you read it at competitionplus.com.
Well, competitionplus.com always putting out the letter count for the drag racing fan. Well, Bobby, look, thank you for the insider information. We're going to take a break from our break with our sponsor, Weldon High Performance, and their pumps. Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's not just me tonight. Sam is in the studio. Oh, he popped back up. Here he is. Slamming Sam. Look, man, let's start out with this. Hope you had a great weekend. Looking forward to always yakking up about the conversation around drag racing. But Drag Racing Central makes a good point. PDRA and VMP, NHRA in Denver, a lot of racing to look forward to. And Drag Racing Central, you forgot the biggest drag race of them all this weekend. Yes, I'm biased. It is Nitro Chaos at Mocan Dragway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on, Lee. A a lot of great facilities are going to have racing. Hopefully I can get to a place that the Wi-Fi is actually working, unlike right now. Like, I'm excited.
Yeah,
The first
Sam.
race for me in a very long time. First race for me in a very long time that actually. So, Denver here, and I'm super excited about that.
Good. So, Sam, I'm sorry to do this to you, buddy, but I'm going to kick you, and I'm going to ask you to come back in because yes, your Wi-Fi is terrible. It really is. So let's get that worked out, or you figure it out yourself because you got host ability, so I can't kick you like I wanted to. But go work on it just a little bit. He will be back. Yes, internet issues up there in the far north of North Dakota. He is a resident of Minot. So Mason McGaha on later tonight. Looking forward to chatting with Mason. I've never got the pleasure to chat with this young man. And in a class which right now Erica Enders is stealing all of the spotlight in Team Elite, they, along with Mason, along with his dad, they're one of those, if you may want to put it as, independents out there in the world of drag racing and pro stock in particular. And he is a solid wheelman and one of the up-and-coming stars in the pro stock ranks. And then after Mason McGaha, we're going to have Tami Bandimere, Bandimere Speedway, on the chat about the upcoming kickoff to the Western Swing at Bandimere Speedway, the Mile High Nationals. Let's go back to having screen number 2. Samuel, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? How does this sound?
I can. We got the Larry Dixon effect going on right now. There's a little slight pause to when you chime in.
Okay, I'm gonna try one more thing. Go to the old cell phone. Let's see if that one works better.
That right now it's a little better. Okay, give it a shot. Give it a shot, man.
Oh.
I'm back. So, what is going on in the world of drag racing? Right now as we're having these technical difficulties? Well, as mentioned with Bobby, great to hear Terry McMillen stepping up and buying Bunker Hill Dragway. And it's good to hear drag racers buying drag strips and keeping one of the longest running going on to where it will continue to run that much more longer. He did mention the start of the NHRA season next year, the 2023 season. It is changed. They are going to be starting in Gainesville. Then they will move to a western swing, a southwestern swing, if you will, to some degree. And it's going to be Phoenix, Pomona, and Las Vegas to kick off the year. And with that statement, with that news rolling out today, I paid attention to many threads of those announcements, and I may very well be preaching to the choir, but it fascinates me how many people do not take the time to read an article. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care if it is political discourse or motorsports discourse. Take time to read the flippin' article and not just a title. There's a reason there is an article. Go read it. And it's out everywhere. You can find it on Drag Illustrated. You can find it on Competition Plus. You can find it from the NHRA itself. It's out there. Go read the article. And a lot of your questions can and will be answered. For example, routinely, people were asking in the comments section, well, why the move? Why the move? Why the move? And there's a whole paragraph that is basically a quote from Glenn Cromwell, the president of the NHRA, explaining why. And it's a hope that it will be more efficient for the teams considering fuel and travel costs, which is one of the greatest expenses they have got as teams. It is in travel. Just getting to and fro from the track. There was an estimate from one team I heard that an upcoming event that they were considering, but they will no longer be going to, this one funny car team, it was $14,000 just in airfare for the team. It is expensive. And the NHRA made a move that is in consideration for the racers and the teams. And I cannot help but think that Professional Racing Organization, is involved in some shape, form, or fashion in this move as well. So it may not be all of the NHRA's burden to bear. That could be possible, right, Slam and Sam?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. I think, I mean, going back to what you said, just the expense on what's going on with the travel. I mean, that's huge for these racers, for these teams, these organizations right now. You're going from one side to another side. So, I mean, why not put everything back and kick off the season there? There's going to be a lot of people testing down in that area. So, I mean, I'm hoping that, this gives a lot of people on the eastern side a chance to come out, get cars ready, and a lot of people had time to test, really.
Yes, and it just fascinates me when something like this rolls out, the negativity that can be involved. Look, I am one that, yes, I would love to see Pomona be that first race of the year. It is the Winter Nationals, and it has historically been that, and there's a lot of history behind that. And I do wonder why it wasn't possibly considered of just flipping everything and you having Pomona, Phoenix, Las Vegas, then go out to the East Coast. It still has to be determined where they're going to do testing. I'm sure we're going to see testing on the East Coast this year, which has happened before. Ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't that long ago. Palm Beach International Raceway had the testing before even Phoenix and Las Vegas, but during the COVID year, they had the testing, and they're trying to make it easier on these teams. Look, weather is always a threat, no matter what weekend it is. You can't plan around weather. You set your dates and you go run it, and you hope that it turns out good for you as a promoter. Certainly, you don't want to put a drag race in the middle of winter in Rochester, New York, like an Empire Dragway. That would not be wise, but you've got pretty good bets at Florida. But I appreciate the NHRA making a move in consideration of the teams, even if it means history is going to be moved around and it might not be a traditional date. Drag racing is still happening. And for everybody who wants to moan and groan about the NHRA doesn't listen, well, here they have, apparently.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're definitely listening, and I think too, Lee, it gives a few people opportunities, like we've seen before, other promoters putting on races before, before Gainesville and different things like that. It gives a lot of different opportunities, and like you said, weather in that time of the year, usually yes, it's 75 and sunshine, but I mean, look at what Florida, gives us for opportunities and everything like that. So I'm excited about it. And like I said, the cost factor of what we're all looking at parts wise, these rigs that are going up and down the road every weekend, every other weekend to get to and from races. I mean, could there be an early Western swing, then an Eastern swing, then we go back West? But I think now this is an opportunity to look at the schedule and say, hey, what can we do different? What can we do to help the racers? And if you don't, like you said, if you don't think NHRA is listening, I think this is your opportunity right now to say, yeah, they are listening to what we're saying.
And remember, a lot of national events have had movement throughout their history. The finals has not always been at Pomona. The U.S. Nationals is, an event that you can see movement and change. And I think we've got to have a sport that is flexible, especially after COVID. It has to be flexible in hearing and making this move. I think it's a wise decision. But, Sam, what a lot of people are missing is in the article, which, as I said right before you got back on, read the darn article. Glenn Cromwell, the president of the NHRA, in that quote from him said, and we look forward to moving back to the traditional start. Like, it's not intended to be permanent. It's intended to help.
That's the fine print, Lee. No one reads the fine print, right?
Well, I'm here reading it for everybody, apparently.
Well, I mean, everybody's going to read the first couple of lines, and they're going to say, you know what, I've had enough. You guys are changing everything. I don't like it. I don't like it because it's not, French toast and waffles. You put strawberries and bananas on their waffles right now. Change is not always bad. I mean, yeah, we've gone through some that we don't like or in life that we don't like, but not all change is bad. So, I mean, let's just take, adapt with it. And who knows? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? We don't know yet. There should be more information about it, but just like he will go back to his traditional ways.
Right. I think that will happen in time. And we've already seen in COVID that definitely the Gator Nationals can handle the kickoff to the season. It is a historic race in its own right. So, what are you looking forward to this weekend, Slammin' Sam? We've got a lot of drag racing, as has been mentioned. What are you looking forward to? I've heard you might make a trip down yet up the mountain.
What am I looking for most this weekend is to have just a clear mind. Like, not having to worry about work or anything else. Oh, sorry, not that kind of. I'm looking forward to going to the mountain, man. It's been a few years since I've been there. Last time I was there, I was watching a bunch of high horsepowered pro mod cars. I'm going to say pro mod, the class that I love so much. But last time I was there, I was watching some pro mod cars. So I'm excited to see, the start of the Western Swing. Started to see, the new wraps on cars, the new sponsorships that we're bringing into the sport. I'm just excited to see what this Western Swing is going to do, because everyone's got, the mindset every year is I'm going to go in and I want to win the Western Swing. Like that's huge. If you can pull that off, you put off a great, accomplishment. So I'm excited to see who's really ready to, test a couple of things and blow some stuff up. Like, let's be honest, the mountain it's not friendly to anyone. I'm excited to see the view, the scenery, and everything, and just get back to racing. It's been too long. I think my last race was North Carolina. I got to take in, some circle track racing here this past weekend. So I'm ready to get my feet wet and get back to racing. And to be honest, with a little controversy, I'm ready to see if anyone's going to ask Steve the dreaded question. Are you going to win? What's it going to take? I mean, I hate to say it, but I am.
I think they are ready to win. I think they're definitely capable of winning. And there has been, since that race at Norwalk, there has been little social media blurps. Okay.
Lee, they're not blurps. They're jabs. They're full force. I'm just gonna call it like I see it, and I'm not gonna put anybody's name out there, but I got a couple text messages these past couple weeks, and there's people that are fed up. Like enough is enough. Like, stop putting certain people under the needle. And there's people that are fed up, and those weren't blurps. Those weren't accidents that we're going to put this out there so you can see it. No, that was, I'm Mike Tyson. I got a game plan, and you know what? Right now I've been getting punched in the face and I'm getting sick of it. So here, you guys want to throw it at me, I'm throwing it back. That's what those were.
Well, they've certainly been jabbing. They might even had a sneaking uppercut in there possibly, but there has definitely been a look, be careful and don't wake the sleeping giant type of vibe I've been getting from the team lately.
Oh.
And I have to wonder, like, who's really putting those out? Like, is it a Steve thing, or, you know, his wife is behind the social media? Like, is this the lady putting some birds, you know, some jabs out? Like,
Lee,
I have to wonder.
Lee, I know exactly what quote you're talking about, and it says, "Just because I'm quiet doesn't mean that the bear doesn't exist, or, you know, don't wake the bear." Honestly, it doesn't matter who's writing it, because it's one thing you've got to know, and we're talking about Steve Torrence. Let's be honest. One thing you've got to know about Steve is, and you can see it all through social media right now, there's people that love Steve, there's people that hate Steve, and there's people that aren't sure about him. But one thing he is he's consistent. He's consistently the same nice guy until you piss him off. He's consistently the same consistent driver that he's been all year. And that's why he's sitting number 3 in points. So it's not that he's, you know, it doesn't matter who in his, and we're going to say it since we're talking like boxing style, who's in his camp right now, right? Everyone in that camp is still feeling the same thing. They're all hungry. And it's just like alligators, or it's just like a caged bear. You can go and go and go until you're like, okay, you know what? Now it's time to eat. And right now they can see the steak dinner. They can see, you know, the gazelle that's running that may be limping. They're right there. They see it, and they're hungry. And I'm gonna let you know right now, if you think you've seen a Capco party after a win, I can guarantee you when they get that first one, you are going to see the Capco party. You're going to hear, I guarantee you probably hear horns all night.
I just wonder if at this point there's almost a sense of, you know what, we're going to let them keep winning, and then we're going to show up at the U.S. Nationals, and we're going to be number 1 every single sweat session and go on and win that thing.
And if he does something, and okay, so let's paint this scenario, right? I'm Steve Torrence. I know what my team knows what they're doing. We've been trying stuff. We've been testing stuff. Boom, right? Now I come to the Western Swing. Say I sweep the Western Swing. What does that say? Does that hush everybody up?
Oh, I think it would. I think it would,
you know,
hush everybody up in that question of where are you at, which I'm not sure should be a question. We've said it many times on this show. Again, he's sitting 3rd in points. He is not having a bad year. He just hasn't turned the win light on in the last round, but extremely consistent.
So let's just, like I said, we're painting this scenario. Let's just say he goes out and does that. Okay. Or let's just say he gets 1 win during the Western Swing, right? And then comes out to the U.S. Nationals, and from that point forward, just puts on a clinic. We've seen it. We've seen him do it. We've seen him put on a clinic pretty much throughout a whole race season. Let's just say if they say, you know what, hey, we're going to dial 2 number 6 from last year on this race. We're going to use 2 number 2 on that race, number 8 and number 5, and go out and put on a dominant show. Then what? Like, what do we have to say at that point? So, I mean, just don't poke. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. That's what they say, right? But we've learned over the years that once Steve gets to the point where, hey, you know what, enough is enough. I mean, people are online, he shouldn't win this, he shouldn't win that, simply because of him getting mad. He's chasing a championship, and there's a heated battle at the top end. Why? Why are we mad about this? We watch a DB and a receiver get into it every other play. 15 yards here, 15 yards there. We watch a pitcher and a batter get into it because he threw the ball at him. Whole team there. Just saying. You guys want emotion, you're getting it.
And it's going to be interesting to see what we have got coming up and in store, especially in the top fuel ranks. Our first guest tonight is from the Pro Stock ranks, and an individual that is having, well, actually a solid year. And though he might not have been in the limelight that much, he actually does hold the spot over someone who has at a couple of points this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, look, we're going to take a break, and right after the break, we are going to bring onto the show, first time appearing here on the Competition Plus Power Hour, Mason McGaha.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.
Mason, man, welcome to the show. And first question I've got to ask, look, I spent some time out in Odessa covering Funny Car Chaos, and out in that part of the country, there's nothing. Like, what the heck did you do for fun as a kid? Because, like, there's nothing out there, man.
You're definitely right on. There's nothing to do out there, and really the only thing is just go to Pinwell and race.
Oh, there it is. Which is a great little track. It is a great little track.
Oh, yeah.
So there it is, Sam. You know, you gotta either be in the oil fields or go drag racing, apparently.
Exactly.
Well, I was just gonna say we have a shop. The company I work for, we have a shop. Well, it's not really. It's close to Odessa, more so in New Mexico. But I'm just saying, like, I've been out there a couple of times. You just go to work and go to the hotel, and that's it.
Yep.
And so it's my understanding that the family does have ties in that industry. What is, like, the family company?
So the family company is the name on the side of the car, Harlow Salmons. That's our oil field company, and we do a bunch of repair, service, and build equipment for the oil field, pumps and swivels, cementers, and just all that stuff. And then also the Southwest branch that you also see on the car. We also build little parts and stuff that go on a lot of the equipment.
Involved in that black gold, the Texas tea, and making that race program possible.
So with your race, with your racing career and your family being in the oil field, how do you feel any effects of that from, the oil field ups and downs? Has that affected you guys as a race team?
Here in the last few years, I mean, the economy just in general has been, pretty up and down just in general. And so, I mean, we try to, pace ourselves, spending money wise on the pro stock deal. We don't want to get too crazy, but I mean, we're not, about to be like, oh man, we got to park the car or something. But I mean, we feel it when it's hurting, and, when it's all right, hey, let's go race.
Sam, while we had Mason there full screen, I can't help but see the juxtaposition of Yankees and Cowboys and think to myself, how in the world did that happen? How are you not pulling for the Rangers, son?
So Chris, he followed baseball as a kid, and he followed around Darryl Strawberry. That was one of the players he really loved. And when he got to the Yankees, he was kind of like, I like the Yankees. And then when I came along, it was just like, oh, we like the Yankees, okay. And then also being in Texas, we just always like the Cowboys.
I mean, you have to. If you live in Texas and you're not pulling for the Cowboys,
no, you don't.
You have moved into the state. You did not originate here.
Right.
No. That is false. If you live in Texas, you don't like the Cowboys.
Oh,
Texas. We don't like the Cowboys. We either like the Texans or somebody else.
Okay.
Sorry, I am the world's biggest anti-cowboy person. So I'm sorry, Mason. I saw that.
That's all right.
I wasn't going to comment on it.
There's some days I hate them about as bad as anybody. They get on my nerves so bad. But
hey, Mason, I understand. I'm a fan, and I say all the time.
You know what I'm talking about.
I say all the time, like, we'll win when Jerry's gone.
Exactly.
Oh, well, let's talk about you and winning. You're doing well, man. I know, like, okay, for example, this year, Camry Caruso has got a huge spotlight on her, and she's had some big moments, but you're actually sitting ahead of her in points. You're actually 6th in points. The only people ahead of you are people like Greg Anderson, Dallas Glenn, Kyle Koretsky, Aaron Stanfield, and Erica Enders. I mean, that's some good names to be behind, but yet you definitely have the capability of pushing forward. But what is it going to take on Sunday to see you go up the ladder and keep turning wind lights on all the way to a Wally?
You know, I feel like we got the car to do it, and I feel like I can drive well enough. I guess I can. I don't know. It's just, I think we got to put together 4 solid rounds. That's been our issue. We might get to the semis and then, I'll turn it red, or, we'll shake or something. And it's just, we have been able to line 4 solid runs up in a row together on race day. And I think that's just really the only thing holding us back. That and a little bit of luck. I feel like the luck will go a long ways also in racing.
So I have to ask this question. We constantly hear, drivers come on, and even crew chiefs when they come on say we have to put on 4 consistent runs. We have to put on 4 consistent rounds, to get there and do that. For you, for your, in your race package, in your race plan, what does that look like on Sunday? What does 4 consistent rounds look like for you in your eyes, if you could envision it?
4 runs. I mean, I've noticed I have an issue kind of light. Like, I might start out first round be 30, then if we win first round, I'll get the second round, I might be 30 or 20 again, and then it's like, oh, I'm getting pretty amped up now, and in the semis I'll be pretty close to red, if not red. And so that's been one thing that it's like I need to figure out how we can keep myself consistent there and not turn the red light on, but also have a good light to get us to that next round in that win. And Pete, my crew chief, he'll get you down the racetrack pretty often, and it's just we gotta find that, I guess, fine line of just consistency.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. You put it away. You talk about consistency. I remember the win that Aaron Stanfield had at Arizona, and in rather dominating fashion. And he's like, "Yeah, I wanted to drive better today." And I'm like, "Drive better? Like, what are you talking about?" And then I asked him, I said, "What are you actually talking about? Because it looked like you drove pretty darn good to me, and you're holding the trophy." He's like, "I want to be under 20 every time at the tree, and not have that variation." So it seems to be that is something that is definitely needed at this very moment in the class, because even though you've got performances like Erica is putting on, the class is close, and you've got to get it at the tree. And if you've got that consistency, you can definitely set your car up around that. Is that the case?
Oh yeah, and I'd say we're obviously, if you look at the qualifying sheet and look at the races, like, I mean, we're obviously probably 100 to 2 off of the top. That's just, I mean, it's been that way for several years now with us. We're just 100 to 2 off, and it seems like we've been searching for that 100, 200s. And I mean, so knowing you got that on the table, trying to get that light's a big deal for me.
So the overview of the class right now, I mean, you have, like Lee mentioned, you have Camry Caruso, you have Greg Anderson, Kyle Koretsky, Dallas Glenn, Erica Enders, and the list goes on and on. For you, like, having that group that's in your class that you're racing against week in and week out, how do you think that's made you a better driver? And like, what tips and tricks have you picked up, from the people in the class?
It's definitely, like you say, it's a tough group out there. It's just, I mean, pretty much every weekend there's 16 cars who could win. There's sometimes you, like in the other classes, you might look and it's like, there's a little bit of bottom feeders, but like pro stock, I mean, it looks like 1 through 16, you could just pick a name out of a hat and one of them could really probably win at the end of the day. And I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's tough.
Well, speaking of any one out of the 16 winning, when it comes to you winning, Lauren Murphy asks if you could pick any current NHRA pro drag strip to get your first NHRA Pro Stock win ever at, which one would it be and why? being from Texas, I have to wonder if it's the Motorplex, but I would be definitely intrigued if it's beyond that. So, yeah, where's the first place, man?
Well, the Motorplex would definitely be one, and I really wanted to win Houston just, because it's another Texas race and it was the last one. But then, I mean, we're coming up on Sonoma, and that's where Chris got his first win, so that'd be pretty cool to win that one too. And Indy was always, the one everybody wants. So, I mean, there's a lot of them I'd love to win. I mean, I'd love to win them all, obviously, but those are probably the few ones that'd be my top choice.
You see, Sam, look, it started with just the Texas tracks, and then it's like, oh, yeah, don't forget about Indy. Just all of them. I'll just win all of them.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that, man, for sure. Well, we just lost Sam. He'll be back. Now, we'll go with another question from the fans. I knew we were going to have to talk about this eventually. 426 Hemi asked Mason about the burn down with Bruno. All right, the talk of all last year, the burn down there at Topeka, Kansas. We're rapidly approaching returning there. So break it down for us. Like, what was your mindset? Was there a moment of like, is this happening? Like, am I really in this situation? It's on national television. I'm in a burn down. Like, is any of that, going through your mind? Did it seem surreal?
I mean, I didn't really plan on, hey, I'm gonna get in a burn down with Bruno, and I kind of had my little, I guess, mindset what I was going up there to do, and I didn't want to stage first, and I guess he didn't. And we sat there, and about like 20 or 30 seconds in, I was like, yeah, I think we're about to have a burn down, and we sat there, and the officials waving us in. And I remember sitting in the car going, I'm not going in, and the rest is history.
That it is. Is it as okay? The fans always get engaged in that type of moment, and people start cheering and hollering, whether it's like just put it in, guys, or yeah, burn them down, or whatever side they're taking. Is there that type of excitement in the car, at least for you? Is there? Or is it, hey, I'm in the office and all of that really kind of hits you after the fact and you're out of the car?
It's, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, you're sitting there, and at first you're just sitting there, and you got the shifter push and you got the clutch down, and you're like, oh, okay, waiting. And then, it lasted, I guess, about 3.5 minutes, a little over 3.5 minutes. And probably that last 20 or 30 minutes, I was breathing so hard, my shield was starting to fog up, and my leg was shaking. It was like, oh man, this is starting to get an issue.
You talk about your leg and holding in the clutch, going that long. I mean, was it physically challenging? It's always described as those cars, the clutch just wants to throw your leg off. So did it become a situation of like, man, I don't know how much longer I can hold this thing?
That's exactly how I was getting. It was, I was good. I was sitting there holding it, and that last few seconds there, it was like it's starting to burn. I'm pulling on the wheel, and it was starting to burn. But it was when I started first trying to learn how to drive Pro Stock, I never drove a stick car, and we went to Vegas, and the turnoff in Vegas goes downhill. So Chris was like, we got to figure out how you can learn just to feel the clutch. So we went to the bottom of that hill when I was trying to learn, and he had me start the car up, and all right, we're going to drive up the hill. And he first, okay, just let me let out all the way. I cussed in. I was like, well, what's the point of this thing? No, we need to feel the clutch. And I'm going to walk by the car, and you can't drive off without me. And so then he, walked by, and you have to feel that pivot point. And that was the only other time I felt that same pain in that burn down, just sitting there having to hold that clutch like that. But I guess you could say that prepared me for that moment.
There we go. Well, definitely a fascinating moment. And hey, I mean, anytime you want to do it, anytime soon, I mean, go ahead. It's pretty cool.
I don't know what I missed, Lee. Am I back?
Yeah, I think yes.
Okay, I don't know what the last question was. I I don't know. My internet doesn't like me today, but going to Bandimere. I don't know if you asked this already, Lee, but Mason, going to Bandimere, what are you looking forward to the most? What is that, change that your team has been talking about making, and what what are you guys preparing for to be up on the mountain?
Chris has talked about that the 1-2 shift is pretty different than everywhere else, and he thinks I'll have a good shot at being successful with that, I guess, being that it's so quick, and he thinks I can get that down pretty quickly because he says every time he goes, he hits the chip on the 1-2, and so maybe I can hit it on time and won't be robbing us there.
So when you speak of the 1-2 and the chip, you referring to you've got to shift that much quicker than normal. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, exactly.
All right. So everything picks up on the mountain, even though things seem to slow down inside, at least.
Right. Yes, they got it geared up so much just so you can get going. I guess that 1-2 shift it's like you take off and I guess bam, you're almost instantly shifting. I guess we'll see Friday.
So
your other competitors are out testing already and doing that, but how confident are you, with everything that you've done and accomplished so far? How confident are you, to go up there and put on a great performance?
I feel confident. I mean, every race I'm ready to go and stuff. And like y'all were saying, I'm 6th in the points. And I mean, before when I joined in and before y'all put me on, y'all were talking about Steve Torrence, having consistent finishes, even though he hadn't won. He's been going to the semis, going to the finals, and I mean, I guess we've had 7 or 8 races, and I've gone to a handful of semis, and so, like I was saying earlier, we got to just figure out how to get that push past the semis and make that, I guess, 4 consistent runs like we were talking about.
Well, it's definitely out there. It is going to happen for you, I think, sooner than later. You're definitely one that the talking heads herself and the fans have got to keep their eye on, just like Dallas Glenn and Kyle Koretsky and all the other young men and women in the class. So beyond drag racing, man, I know we kind of joked about, hey, there's nothing to do out there in West Texas, but what does Mason actually enjoy? Movie guy, you music guy, do you like to try restaurants, or, do you happen to tempt, curling if you get, well, there's no ice down there, but what do you like, man?
I mean, when we're not at the races, I'll typically go to the shop and, I just assemble and disassemble the heads and clean them and clean other parts, and they need me to do them, and so I'll do it at the shop. And Chris has gotten me doing some AutoCAD drawing for the oil field shop. I started doing a class in college and did that, and he had already shown me in it before, but that class put me more in depth in it, and so I've been doing a little bit of that, drawings, different oil field parts, and we got this one machine that we're wanting to build, and I guess they're already building it, but they want legitimate, nice drawings so they can build it better and not as complicated.
I like it. AutoCAD. Okay.
A little different, dabbling in everything.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess when we're not at the shop, I'm kind of bored. I'll come home, I'll watch the Yankees, and then after that, and I'll maybe do some iRacing. I like to do that, just
really?
Different video games. I'll piddle with that some, and just different baseball or racing games. Nothing too crazy.
So in iRacing, I do iRacing as well. It's been a while. I need to get the rig set up in the studio and get back to it. What particular cars do you fancy to race in? I'm really a big fan of the street stocks and late models and the ARCA cars, for example. Which set of cars do you like?
I know you got to make your way up the licenses, and I've been trying just go all the way up with all the different ones. I've been doing the what have I been doing? The Xfinity cars. I got to where I was on that license. So I just piddle around with that. And the Indy cars, me and Chris, we love IndyCar racing. He jokes around that if Pro Stock went away, we'd make a push to go IndyCar racing. And then we'll also mess with some of the dirt circle track stuff because I want to drive a midget car one day. It also seems really cool. And so I piddle around with some of that. Just kind of all the different stuff on there.
All right.
Well, there you go. He's just got to go over to the Snap-on pit and talk it up with Cruz, and he might have a ride for you. I know he's got some connections there. I mean, hey, why not? See.
Yep.
Yep. Sam is having technical difficulties tonight for sure. Sorry, Mason. His internet is usually never like this, and it happens to be tonight. Sam, I see you moving. So can we hear you again?
I'm still here. I think.
Okay, cool. You're good. You're good.
It's cutting in and out. It's good at some points, and some points it's like nothing. We're good right now, though.
Sweet. Yeah. And I don't know what's going on. It doesn't like me. It's been, I don't know. Trying something new. But this weekend, if you can go up on the mountain and be, and get that Wally and hold that up, what would that mean to you? Starting off the Western swing like that.
That'd be huge. I mean, just every race, I think, hey, is it going to be my weekend? And it just. It's all I really think about, man. Am I gonna get that Wally this weekend or next weekend? It's just it's all I think about. That and the Yankees. So are the Yankees winning? Am I gonna get my win?
Hey, it needs to be a double weekend then. Mason gets his win, and then you and the Yankees win as well. How the heck are they doing anyway? I haven't been able to follow much this year.
This year they got the best record in the league. They've been better than I anticipated. I mean, I knew we were a good team, but they've been well above my expectations.
All right. Well, I'm glad they're having a good year. I went to one baseball game. I went to Wrigley Field, but you got to go to Wrigley Field when you get an opportunity. But the Cubs apparently aren't having a good year, and the Brewers aren't having a good year. It was a decent game, but no major implications at all. Sam. Oh boy, we've lost Sam again. Oh man. So I'll remove
Internet's not liking
Sam.
him today.
Man, it is not. I don't think Sam has ever had a drastic issue with his internet until like tonight. And it's hard to work things out in the very moment. But at least I got a good connection, and you've got a good connection. It's amazing that that's the case from West Texas, as barren as it is.
Yeah.
You mentioned Penwell Nights earlier. That's like the only place to go and hang out and do drag racing. Talk to us about that little facility. I've been there myself. Impressive little facility. Was there at Funny Car Chaos. But what is it like having that kind of place in your area that you can go and drag race at?
It's awesome. I mean, we just this last weekend we went and had an off weekend, so we have a Firebird that we just no box race with, and we took it out there and just piddle around some bracket racing with it. And if we got to break in tires or do a little bit of testing, something we'll take the Pro Stock cars out there and do some launches with them and run them to about 3:30 just to get some data. And if we got to figure out something, we can take it out there, and it's a facility easy for us to use.
Yes, it's a nice facility, and I can't look. I look forward to seeing what else they have in store because my time there, I'm like, okay, they're not done with this quite yet. They're not done with this. You can definitely tell they have got a plan, and they're going to keep moving forward with it and get the job done. When I was there, we almost had to stop racing. The dust picked up, and it was insane to be in this fog of dust and how it affected filming and the drivers. And I can only imagine at speed in dust going down the drag strip. It was crazy. So, yes, dust, a serious issue out there in West Texas.
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Now,
we always have a bunch of dust storms, dust tornadoes, just dust and wind all the time.
Yes, not Sharknadoes, but Dustnadoes.
Yes.
Cool, definitely. Well, Mason, what are some points in your pro stock career that you want to mark off? We've talked about the Wally, but like, how many championships is it? Do you ever aspire to just own the car outright? What about, being crew chief later on in your life? What are some things within the industry that you would like to accomplish, maybe even beyond pro stock itself?
That's a tough question. I mean, I obviously, like I've said, win a race, and you talked about championships. So when Chris first started this, he's like me, he just wanted to win a race and wasn't too big on a championship. But then after he won, I guess he's won 8 races, he's kind of like, maybe I should make a push for a championship, and we could get on a roll here to the end of the regular season and into the countdown and put ourselves in a good spot and win a race. I want to win a race first before I really focus on a championship. But I mean, if we can win the race, obviously, push hard for that championship, and just I'll keep coming until they, tell me not to come anymore or get rid of pro stock. I want to always be involved somehow.
All right. Well, I'm going to try and bring Sam back in. Sam, no, that was not a good move. Sam's not with us yet. I mean, he's with us, just not in person, not online. That's the case. What's happening? Well, Mason, look, thank you for joining us on the Competition Plus Power Hour, and letting people hear just a little bit more from you. I feel like the camera should be in your face a little bit more often than it is, but it's not, and we need to change that. We need to get you that Wally and cameras be on you, and people learn more about Mason McGaha. And by the way, before we let you go, is it McGaha or McGaha? What from the source? From the family, not through TV, which is it?
You said it right. It's McGaha, but don't worry. Like 99% of people get it wrong. Like all through elementary school, you get new teacher every year, and they Mason McGaha, and no, it's McGaha, and there's just some I don't even bother correcting them. It's just like just whatever. I'm 20 at this point. I don't care anymore.
Right. I've accepted in my life.
Yeah, it's like you fit in with everybody else. McGaha, whatever. I don't care.
Right. Yes, I understand that. Not necessarily that anybody pronounces my name wrong, but I go by my middle name instead of the first name, and it creates a lot of confusion. And then I've got 2 middle names, and the IRS and credit people think that's weird. It's like, what's going on? Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that greatly. Well, Mason, thank you for your time, and we hope your time on the mountain and through the Western Swing and all the races you've got ahead of you are a good time, and definitely keeping my eye on you in 6th place in the points and seeing where you move and hoping that is upward. Thank you, Mason.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, folks, Mason McGaha, competitor in the NHRA Pro Stock ranks. We are going to take a break once again. We're going to see if Sam can hop back in, and we will, after this break, bring on Tami Bandimere. Definitely looking forward to talking to her. She knows all that there is you need to know about the mountain and the upcoming kickoff to the Western Swing there at Bandimere Speedway. So we're definitely looking forward to talking to her. And, right off the bat, just ask her about, why drag racing in particular. And I'll set that up once we have her on the show right after this break, mentioning Competition Plus apparel.
Get your CompetitionPlus.com apparel today. Whether it's our nitro-burning funny car design or the vibrant door slammer design, we have the swag to show you are always in the know. Get yourself a hat too. And we know not everyone enjoys wearing a mask, but if you must wear one, at least wear a good-looking one. Check out the new CompetitionPlusApparel.com for the latest from the place where you have trusted for your news on the internet for over 2 decades.
Tami Bandimere, welcome to the Competition Plus Power Hour. Uh-oh. Something's muted. Uh-oh.
There.
Oh, there we go. There we go. It worked. Well, welcome to the show. Now we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me, for sure. This race week in Denver. So here we're ready to go.
Man, looking forward to it. And I know my buddy Sam, we'll see if he does happen to pop back in. He's having internet issues. He's going to be there this weekend. He's looking forward to it. Now, first thing I want to ask, because the first time I ever ran past across with you, it wasn't at your track. It was actually at Norwalk, Ohio. And then I've seen you at the Motorplex, and I've seen you here, and I've seen you there. And I'm like, I've seen this person more at every other track than her own track. So you definitely have got to be a fan of drag racing. And why are you?
Well, it's not even just so much fan of drag racing. It's the people, it's having the opportunity to chat with people and make connections and have relationships and that kind of thing. And sometimes you just got to get out of your office and get out of your seat and go and have fun and hang out with other people. But my grandparents started the racetrack in 1958. My grandfather he just loved cars, and my grandmother loved my grandfather, so it was a perfect fit. But my grandparents knew that there was street racing that was happening, and that really kind of didn't set well with them. We had some auto parts stores in town, and we just decided my grandparents decided that it would be a great place to build a racetrack, and a drag strip seemed to make the most sense, since that's pretty similar to a street. And so my dad was really, he was probably the biggest impetus for the whole racetrack, because he was doing quite a bit of street racing. And so in 1956, my grandparents got the property in Morrison, which wasn't really the original location for the racetrack. It was supposed to be a little further north. And but the neighbors kind of pitched a fit, and so my grandpa pulled his zoning and said, let's go somewhere else. And you've been there, I think, and anyone who's been there, I know it's 5,800 feet above sea level, but it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Sadly, I have not had the pleasure yet, and it won't be this weekend either. I've got a great race to look forward to in my own right, with being the pit reporter for the whole Chaos brand at Mocan Dragway. But no, I haven't got up there. I've got to get up there for the Jet Nationals. I've got to make it. I got to make it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think I saw you. I was at the Funny Car Chaos in Dallas, and
yep, you were.
I looked down and I was like, I think I know who that is.
Yeah. yes. I saw you. I was busy, but I did see you, and you were checking things out and enjoying things. Again, being a fan of drag racing. With the family facility, Bandimere Speedway, in comparison to other tracks, people are going to say ZMAX Dragway, the Bellagio of drag strips. They're going to look at Norwalk, Ohio, and Summit Racing Equipment Motorsports Park, and they're going to say America's racetrack. What and where and how does Bandimere fit into all of that? And how should people view the facility for someone like me that hasn't been there yet?
Right. Well, again, I think that it's just such a beautiful setting. We only have development on one side of the racetrack, so it sits right up against the mountain. And when we finally figured out where the highway was going to go back in 1987, for years they had talked about putting a major highway in front of us, and we, they'd come out, they'd do survey, they'd pound stakes, and then everything would blow away. But in 1987, they got really serious, and they said, we're going to finally build this highway, Colorado 470, right here. So at that point, as a family, we decided, do we want to continue? Do we want to put money into this facility, or do we want to change, and do something else? And we all figured that, what, we're pretty sure we're not done yet. So let's spend some money and change some things. We actually put our national event on hold in 1988 because things were just such a mess. And then in 1989, we came back with the Mopar Parts Mile High Nationals. And that was the beginning of our relationship with the Chrysler Corporation. And we have had that relationship with them since 1989. And I believe it's the longest running national event sponsorship in the history of NHRA, which we are very proud of. Again, it's all about relationships and that kind of thing. But when we did that renovation, we moved our pit area up to the upper level. And it provides just such an amazing perspective for all of the racers. When they're not racing, they can come right to the edge of the mountain and they can watch the racing going on down on the racetrack. And it's very, very high. We're very high up there, but it's just such a beautiful setting. And Red Rocks Amphitheater is actually right over the Hogback Mountain from us. So if you're standing on the racetrack and you look towards the mountain and were to climb right over that mountain, you drop yourself right into Red Rocks Amphitheater. So we are considered the foothills, but we're in the mountains. I mean, we're basically in the west side of town. So I would say it's, the setting right now, we've had a little bit of rain here and there. So the valley's beautiful and green. So it's going to show up well on television and in photographs. So we're excited about that.
Now, it's my understanding that the big metro area would be Denver. How far is Denver from the track?
Denver's probably about maybe 15, 20 minutes to the east of us.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's really not that far, but we always say that it's Denver because that's where you fly into is Denver, and downtown Denver and that kind of thing. But we are in Morrison, the town in that area right there, right on the edge of Lakewood and Littleton. And we just sit right up against the mountain and have been there for 64 years.
So what has it been like? I didn't realize it was that close to Denver. What has it been like with having, a big city like that, not too far down the road? What has the challenges yet the rewards been in cooperation, even in times maybe lack of cooperation between communities with such a facility? Because from everything I have heard, the Bandimeres have done a great job of it's been more than just a racetrack.
Correct. And that's, I think that really came from my grandparents as well. At times we've even gone so far to say that we consider ourselves educational, and that some people will laugh at that and think that's a stretch. But, think about it. The entire STEM program right now is basically something we've been doing since 1958. And then to educate people about, taking their need for speed and being responsible and taking it to a racetrack. And we have a Wednesday night Colorado State Patrol take it to the track test night. And we have a reading program for elementary age kids that's been going on for 26 years. And it encourages them to read through some fun prizes and incentives. And we give them tickets to the races and that kind of thing. And, again, I think that we've got just enough distance that we have a little of our own identity, but we are still connected to Denver. And there's just so much to do in Colorado. There's just, we're still so close to I-70 and the gateway to the Rockies. There's Idaho Springs. It's just right up the hill. So we really, even though we're on the west side of town, we still are fairly centrally located to a lot of things that people can get to and get to easily and have fun if they're not at the racetrack.
So before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the Mile High Nationals, which we have this very weekend, what are some other big events that happen at Bandimere Raceway? I alluded to one of them, but what's in the whole portfolio, if you will?
We typically have about 130 events, April through October. Our big kickoff is the middle of May, which is our Napa Auto Parts Night of Fire and Thunder. And that is the event that kids earn tickets to through our Race to Read program. And we have had up to 36,000 kids involved in that Race to Read program at 71 different schools around the metro area. So that really creates some excitement for that event. The fact that it's kind of a kickoff to summer, but it's also, with it being typically around May 18th, 19th, 20th, somewhere around there, kids that's about the last thing they do with their classmates before school is out for summer. So we get a lot of new families that come to that event just because their kids earn tickets to the races. Then we kind of go into our Jack Car Nationals, which, is then around the July 4th weekend. This year it was on July 2nd. And man, it was just such a remarkable event. It was really fun. We really packed the place. We have our regional event on Father's Day weekend. And again, we really, the alcohol cars are a great show. And so we really encourage people to come out and see that, especially if they're unable to make it to the Mile High Nationals. That's a really good event for them to see alcohol dragsters and funny cars go down the racetrack. Then we go into, let me think here. We've got a Mayhem on the Mountain event, which ironically enough, this year, our Night of Fire and Thunder snowed out in May. So we postponed the Night of Fire and Thunder to coincide with our Mayhem on the Mountain event. And so then we've got that big event. Now, sprinkled throughout the summer, we've also got an all truck event, an all Mopar event, an all Volkswagen event, an all Ford event, an all Chevy event. And then we always have our ET series, our local events, and that happen on Fridays and Saturdays and sometimes on Sundays as well. So we have a pretty full schedule, April through October. And we, honestly, we try to run as far into the fall as we possibly can. If it gets a little too cold and we're trying to put some really fast cars on the racetrack, it's probably not safe. So then we kind of have to pull the plug.
Well, Tami, I know from every competitor I have encountered, whether it is at the highest professional ranks or at the sportsman ranks, they have got so many positive things to say about running at Bandimere Raceway. I think of Lyle Greenberg and the Cone Hunter funny car, and I think of Danny Smith with his funny car, nitro burner and a methanol burner. They, had some of their best runs ever there recently, and they're so stoked about it compared to any other track. Any other track, they would have set a record, not a record, but like their own record. They wouldn't be talking about it, but because it's Bandimere, they're talking about it, and the facility and the Bandimere family and the great people that you all are. What does it mean for you, the whole crew, that your facility is a place that people talk about going to over other facilities because it's that great to show up and race there?
We have a remarkable staff. I mean, we really do. We've got heads of departments that have been there for 15, 20, some 30 plus years. And, again, it's every year, we always say, well, I wonder if we're going to be able to staff, what we need for the summer. And the last few years have been a bit challenging for sure, but we do have those people who come back every year because they just enjoy the atmosphere. They enjoy being a part of our family, the Bandimere family, because we consider them family. And treating our guests with respect. And, you know, I mean, we're let's face it, we're not going to do everything right all the time. We stub our toe just like everyone else does. But, you know, our intentions are good, and we really want to make sure that once we get somebody through the gates for the first time, that we provide an experience for them that they want to come back. They want to tell their friends about it. They want to have a good time, and they want to, you know, they want to make it part of their summer activities every year. And, you know, we do a really good job with souvenirs. We just had a big Western Conference Junior Finals, and you know, it's really great to see people walking around with your shirts on. And it's just, you know, it's one of those kinds of things that sometimes it feels a little surreal, but that's, you know, when you've been there for 64 years, you're bound to see other people wearing your stuff around, and that's really pretty cool.
It is. It's interesting to see someone wearing your logo. I know that on a very small scale with my own logo, and I've seen someone wearing a T-shirt. I'm like, hey, that's my I'm on that T-shirt, you know. So I understand how that does feel. Folks, in the comment section, feel free to ask Tami your questions. Put those in the comment section. So Norwalk is known for the ice cream, $1 a pound. You know, Martinsville Speedway and NASCAR world is known for its hot dog. When I go to Eddyville, Iowa, I'm like, yes, I need the Frito pie, because they have a great version of Frito pie. Does Bandimere Raceway have anything like that? Like, you've got to try this particular item?
Well, we have a couple of things that's kind of fun. Our nitro nachos, you know, are by far, hands down, the best around. But about, I want to say, maybe when we celebrated our 55th anniversary, we came up with a burger that my dad loved. It's called the Slopper, and it's a burger with green chili and cheese and onions on it, and it is pretty sloppy. And in fact, just on Saturday, I was out at the racetrack. We were getting ready for the Mile High Nationals, and I was working with my sister in our souvenir shop, and I was like, you know, I just feel like something, I don't know what, and it's been so long since I've had one of those. And yep, it's pretty sloppy actually, but it's really good.
Hey, the messier, the better. It seems like if it's messy, it tastes that much better. It seems like that's how it works out. So
if you're not wearing half of it, then it's not worth it, right?
That's right, for sure, for sure. Well, you mentioned an anniversary in that reply to that comment. 64 years this year coming up. Congratulations to the entire family and staff. What is it going to take to get to 75, and what is it going to take to get to 100, though?
Yeah, boy, that really is the question of the week, the year, whatever. You know, it's when they built that highway, they said that in 30 years you would start to see development encroach, and they weren't wrong. You know, it's been 33 years, and we're noticing that happening up and down the corridor. You know, and the reality is that you can't stop growth, and we've been watching it come. And you know, we kind of laugh and say that for the last 25 years we've had a 5-year plan, because, you know, you just keep looking at it and go, if we're here in 5 years, we're going to do this. If we're here in 5 years, we're going to do that. But the truth is that we've never backed down on making improvements. We've never backed down on reinvesting into the facility. We've never backed down on band-aiding things because we're not sure what's going to happen. We continue to want to provide a first-class facility, a first-class experience for people, and that's not going to stop us at all. Now, at some point, will we need to find another location? I have no doubt that at some point we will. But right now, we're where we're at, and we're being good neighbors, and you know, the houses get closer, and we just keep a good relationship with the developments that are showing up, and we just keep plugging along, and we have another 5-year plan.
Well, keep those 5-year plans going, and take us inside, if you will. You mentioned being good neighbors and what that looks like. I'm looking at a photo right now from uncovercolorado.com. and it's the shot from the grandstands behind the starting line on the left side of the track. And yeah, you can see the highway, you can see mountains, but yes, there's houses. What does it mean to be a good neighbor? And as a track, what are incentives possibly to those neighbors? Is there anything? Is it, I mean, how do you interact with them?
Well, it's funny that you'd say that, because some of the things that you would think aren't incentives actually are. Some of the people that have built the really big homes in the Solterra development that's right to the east of us, kind of to the northeast of us, they actually built their homes with patios facing us so they could watch our fireworks on July 4th, which that's really kind of interesting, but whatever it takes, I suppose. Again, some of the programs that we offer out at the racetrack, getting people involved in the community. Our reading program actually started because of the fact that when we did our renovation, my dad ended up having to go to some of the homeowners groups and talk to them to work on some rezoning and that kind of thing. And it was really kind of frustrating for him that people just didn't really understand what we did. They just thought that we were that place on the side of the mountain that made noise, that disturbed people's sleeping patterns, and that tied up traffic several times a year. But what they didn't realize is that it was the heart of a man and a woman that really loved the automobile. And my grandfather always said that not every kid is a stick and ball kid. There are kids that like to tinker, and there should be a place for them. And there should be a place to take that speed so that it's safe and that it's a responsible decision to take it to a racetrack. So once people understand our heart, I've taken phone calls from unhappy neighbors, a couple of times. And once people understand our heart and understand that we're not really trying to be pains, but that we really do provide a place for people to come and enjoy the automobile and it to be safe, it kind of changes their perspective. And then, a lot of times you invite them to come out. Sometimes they take advantage of it. Sometimes they're like, nope, I have no interest whatsoever. But, we're not closed. It's not like we're doing something covert. We're doing exactly what they're doing on the highway. We're just doing it in a safe environment. So I think that it's just a matter, we try not to race past midnight. And thankfully, we have never had a curfew placed on us, but we have self-imposed a midnight curfew on ourselves. And we really strive really hard to stay within that so that we're not causing problems. There's a lot of people that say, man, as soon as you guys start firing up, I know it's summer. So, there's that side of it too. But, and it's interesting too. Here's what's really interesting is that, through this whole next door social media kind of thing, I used to be on that, and we'd run a big event and you just see it blow up with people that were new to the neighborhood. When the heck are they going to be done racing? Why is this going on? And blah, 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 and all of a sudden other people in the neighborhood are shutting them down. It's not us, it's other people. And that really is encouraging for us as a family, that other people within the community understand why we're there and understand what we do. And it's not a Bandimere replying to a complaint, but it's a neighbor. It's, John Smith replying to a complaint. And that really is awesome.
You have a good fireworks show when people plan their house in such a way they can watch it. Man,
and they're expensive houses too. They're really expensive homes. Yes, you're right.
That must be an epic fireworks show for sure. So, all right, you laid out what I loved is you have. It sounds like for the most part the community has your back. because the track has provided well beyond just the community of racing into the community of just human beings. And they're stepping up and silencing complainers, or, hey, you need to remember this track does this, those type of things. You've done the self-imposing curfew, which I believe tracks should really think, what can we do for ourselves before they come and tell us? So is there like the Bandimere playbook that a track can call up and purchase and be like, hey, this is what we can do also here to help us in our community? Because this is a bigger issue than just on the mountain. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't think that there's everything that we've ever done has been because something else prompted it. You know how that is when somebody raises a stink about this, then you kind of go, okay, we need to address that. Or when we're having an issue with something else, you know, okay, we need to address that. So I don't know that there's a playbook necessarily, but let me tell you something. All of us as family are like an open book, and promoting motorsports, not just in Colorado, but across the country, around the world, that really is, I mean, that just does better for us. The more people that are out there that understand what we do, the more people that are out there that are willing to, you know, listen and to take advice and to try things, you know. I mean, let me tell you something. My dad is promoter extraordinaire. And one thing that I've always said that I have really appreciated about him is the fact that he's never really been a no guy. He's always been a, let's try that. Let's give it a shot. You know, I still remember it was the third year we did Race to Read, and I was sitting in his office, and he said, how many tickets are you giving away to the event this year? And I said, well, probably I've got about, 6,000 kids that are involved in the program, and they get a ticket for themselves and an adult to come to the race. And he said, that's 12,000 tickets. And I said, uh-huh. And he goes, you do realize we have seating for, 24,500. That's half of our seating, and you're giving them away. And I just kind of sat there and I went, yeah. And he goes, well, let's see how it goes. That was the third year of the program. We're 26 years into the program, and we're still doing it, because the truth is that it's not so much about people in seats as much as it is the kids that came read. They earned it. They earned that seat in the grandstands, and they got to bring an adult with them. So for us, to forfeit a $45 ticket package in order to maybe gain a new, because we've run juniors at that Night of Fire and Thunder, so that they can see that, hey, kids as young as 5 can come out and race these junior dragsters. And so we promote a lot of our different classifications at that event. So it's it's one of those kinds of things that we've learned along the way, but we're more than willing to share it with other people.
So Sammy Eubanks, the accomplished musician, asks, does the noise from the track ever interfere with concerts at Red Rocks? And imagine that a musician would ask such a question. Yeah, ever had the folks over there be like, hey guys,
That's really interesting. That is a very interesting question. And the reason I say that is because the Red Rocks Amphitheater is actually owned by the city of Denver, even though Denver is 15 to 20 minutes away from us. And I'd say maybe about 5-6 years ago, they put in a whole new sound system at Red Rocks Amphitheater. And I'm telling you what, the people in Morrison pitched a royal fit, because it was really loud. In fact, my sister and her husband lived right across the valley from us, and they said you could virtually hear the words to the songs. And, fortunately for us, we have, fortunately and non-fortunately, we have the highway as a little bit of a buffer. That highway is 4, 5, 6 lane highway at times. And it's a decent buffer, you know, for some of the homes that are along that area. But the concerts at times far outweigh us. But that is a really good question.
Interesting. That is
Yeah.
fascinating. That,
Yeah.
you know, we're complaining more about the concert than the loud cars of, you know, 11,000 horsepower. Very interesting. Very interesting. Oh, yeah. I'm sure the city of Denver loved fielding those complaints. So the Mile High Nationals this weekend. Why is it special to see this one in the calendar of the NHRA Camping World Series?
Well, you know, in 1978, I believe it was, we were granted a national event by the National Hot Rod Association. And at that point, it was just a sports nationals. It did not have the pro categories because they wanted to see, first of all, if the facility could hold it. And second of all, you know, again, we are the highest facility in the circuit, you know, in the NHRA circuit. And do people really want to come? Do they really want to? And there are people even today, there are people that go, nope, not even going to go there. I remember a pro mod guy used to come to Super Chevy Show, said, you know what would be great about this facility is if you dug a hole 5,800 feet and buried it. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. So later. But I think for us, it's, you know, then in 1979, we got a full-blown national event. And so we've had a full-blown national event since 1979. And so we've watched that event grow. We do a throwback Thursday on our website every once in a while, and it'll show some of the old, we had an old circular tower that my grandfather built himself. It was actually supposed to ultimately be a spark plug. And so he had the top of it, and it never ended up being a spark plug because at some point we needed to add a hospitality floor. So we added a hospitality floor, and it never became the spark plug that it was supposed to look like. But you know, looking back at the primitive way that we ran races and people loved it. And then you look at what we've got today. And I've often said, and I think about this every time that we have a Mile High Nationals, because I come down the mountain and as I'm coming down and I see all the trailers and all the people and everybody showing up, that, you know, if my grandparents, especially my grandfather, if he could come back, because we lost him in 1986, he passed away. If he could come back for just one day, 2 would be great. A week would be even better. But one day, he would be so fascinated with where we have come to, you know, from where we were. You know, we were the ones that pretty much pioneered the CompuLink timing system, and it was because I was a complainer. That's why that happened, because I used to sit down in a little tiny metal building. It was hotter than heck. I had a TV screen in front of me. I had these heavy headphones on, and pitch dark, and I had to write down, you know, ET mile per hour. Then we added reaction times on a little business card size card and slide it through the door. And I was just like, and yet they can print receipts at the grocery store. Why can't we print receipt? Why can't we print timing, you know, all the timing information here? So, you know, sometimes it's like, well, necessity is a mother of invention. And I was going, I'm tired of writing like this. You know, I'm getting writer's cramp. So CompuLink was born, and that worked out. But as far as the national event goes, it's just such a way to showcase the facility, and it's beautiful. And, you know, the best of the best come to compete. And it's just fun for our family and fun for our staff.
So I think I've got the photo of the tower you're talking about. Is that
Yep.
it?
That's it. And
that
see,
is an
okay,
interesting little tower.
Yeah. Okay, so that main floor, you can see right above Bandimere Speedway, that was the timing floor. And then the one above it, that was our very first hospitality suite that we ever had. And the stairs that are along on the back side of that, oh my goodness, this is the funniest story. We actually drove to a place in Colorado called Sugar City. It's on the other side of Pueblo. They were leveling a high school, and they said, we have these stairs. You guys want them? And we're like, yeah. So we took a flatbed to Sugar City, Colorado, got those stairs and put them on the back side of the tower so that we could get people up to the hospitality suite without having to go up, because we had a spiral staircase that went up through the inside of the tower in the middle. And when we leveled that tower in order to build a new one in 1988, those stairs ended up going into the basement of our office area. So now we have a stairway that comes in from the garage downstairs up to our offices. So we're pretty good at recycling and reusing.
I like that. I see the spark plug thing too, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Tami, I have definitely liked as well having you on the show tonight. Sorry that my co-host Sam could not hang out and be with us. He's been having internet issues. I'm sure he had a lot of great questions as well. But thank you for fielding the ones that I was able to throw at you. And we hope that Bandimere and the family, the staff, everybody this weekend has one of the best Mile High Nationals that they have ever had.
Well, thank you for having me, and we're going to need to get you to the racetrack at some point.
Definitely. I've got planned a big trip after going to Kearney, Nebraska. Funny Car Chaos goes to Kearney, and after Kearney, I'm thinking about doing this big trip, and Colorado is included. So maybe I'll swing on by during that time. We'll see how it works out.
Give me a call.
All right. Thank you, Ms.
All right.
Bandimere.
Thank you.
Well, folks, what an enjoyable conversation there with Tami and each and every one out there at the Mile High Nationals. We hope that you have a great event and that it, again, is one of the best yet at that famed facility on the mountain. Look, for my co-host Slam and Sam, I want to just say sorry. I've already talked to him. He's said he hates when this happens. It doesn't happen that often, but when you're doing live shows and you're dependent upon internet connections and you're dependent on internet connections at your own home, you never know what might happen. I'm very glad I've got some good friends in my life, and they actually let me use their home for my studio and a spare bedroom, as I'm still, in fact, actually transitioning with my life from like when I was at Strut Masters to being back home in South Carolina and, doing the Funny Car Chaos duties. Before we do let you all go, though, I do want to mention another facility. I'm actually wearing the hat. Keystone Raceway. I paid a visit to the Funny Car Nationals with the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit in the house that Dennis Salzwimmer heads up. We actually had him on the show earlier this year on the Competition Plus Power Hour. But Greg Miller, the owner of Keystone Raceway, I had it reported to me so many times that this place used to be a dump, and yet it certainly was not the case when I got there. He has turned that place around, and Keystone Raceway is a great facility. And if you have never been to Keystone Raceway and you are in Western New York, Western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, it is a place that you need to check out and you need to experience, and you need to take a trip to as a fan or with your race car as a racer. And we talked about the fireworks with Miss Bandimere. Well, same case with Greg Miller. He put on a fireworks show. I usually don't bother to watch fireworks show anymore. I kind of feel like you've seen one, you kind of seen them all. I've kind of gotten to that point. But I eventually stopped and said, wow, it is still going. Wow, this is a good fireworks show for a racetrack. It was exceptional. So Keystone Raceway, definitely need to check it out. To each and every one of you watching, thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button. if you're watching on the YouTube channel. And if you're watching on Twitter or on Facebook, yes, give a like, give a follow, but go over to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button on Competition Plus TV, the YouTube channel for CompetitionPlus.com. That subscription is free, but it will keep you in the loop with content such as the Competition Plus Power Hour, great old school content from the world of drag racing, new news regularly out there, even from your national events. And you also can stay in the loop on when the newest content comes out, such as more top 10 videos to be released. So for Bobby Bennett, for Slammin' Sam, for all at the CompetitionPlus.com crew, the place where you can believe what you read on the internet, I am Lee Kraft, aka the Monday Morning Racer, and it has been a great episode with you all, and thank you for commenting. Until next time, God bless, and keep the pedal to the metal.
In the race for quality, there is no finish line. Jerry Bickle Race Cars is a one-stop chassis shop for drag racing performance parts and race components. For over 50 years, Jerry Bickle Race Cars has been an essential part of racers' plans for building world champion race cars. Our parts department is stocked with every part a racer might need. Log on to jerrybickle.com for more information. We build anything with doors. jerrybickle.com.